Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Fluently Forward. Today on the podcast, we are going to be talking about which celebrities are using bots. And this is an episode that I think is a long time coming. While we've talked about bots before, specifically over on Patreon, I did a whole deep dive into what is astroturfing and how are bots used on Reddit versus Amazon reviews versus politically. I wanted to look into it from the celebrity angle. And I feel like this has been in the zeitgeist for a while, all the way going back to Johnny Depp and Amber Heard. That was when we started hearing of this idea of online smear campaigns that weren't just done by publicity firms or fan accounts or stan accounts, but instead having bots be on your side. And then in everything that's been going on with Justin Baldoni and Blake Lively, it has just now opened up this huge can of worms. Like there's no putting the what's the phrase, like putting the blank back in the, I don't know, there's no more shoving the sausage back into its casing. We know that bots are online. We see them. We interact with them. I think I get my feelings hurt by them sometimes, and they are here to stay, and they just keep growing. So I think the timing is right. Let's see which celebrities are using these bots and in what different methods. So you guys already know where I stand with the Justin Baldoni and Blake Lively lawsuit. I did a public episode on that with pop apologists and what I will say. And I feel like, more news is coming out every day about the Justin Baldoni, Blake Lively situation. I feel like history has kind of proven my stance right so far. But this is one of the main things to get people talking about bots online, because when the New York Times reported on this and Blake Lively put stuff out in her lawsuit, she was basically saying this was a coordinated attempt and it was done by a company that does this shit all the time. So it also makes me think, I wonder if some celebrities were like, oh, stand up for yourself, but like, damn, now I can't use these people. And I wanted to know how many celebrities are using bots, because I believe if you are a musician, a politician, a business person with, I don't know, items on the TikTok shop or Amazon storefront, if you aren't using bots right now, you're officially behind everybody else. Like I am fully, I don't know, bot pilled, I guess, on the concept that every single person is using bots, except for me. I do the opposite thing. I post on TikTok and Instagram and I lose followers. I don't know what that is. It's me standing up against bots, you could say. I don't know why it happens, but it does. So without further ado, let's point some fingers and see who has had their hand caught in the bot cookie jar as a celebrity. The first category that we're going to talk about here is the category of using bots to defend yourself online. This is a little bit different than the smear campaign. You're not actively going after somebody, but you are paying a bunch of fake accounts to say good things about you. And I just feel like that's a little bit embarrassing. Something I do want to note before we get into these examples of three men, celebrities who we will be talking about, all of these instances took place in or around 2023. That's when they kind of stop. So my personal hunch is that people had a certain way that they were using bots. It ended up being picked up by people on Reddit, BuzzFeed News. Everybody could make TikTok videos about it and say how embarrassing, this person's obviously using bots. And then 2024, 2025, that method kind of went away. So I think that the bots have evolved. They're still being used, but you're not going to really see this technique that much in 2025. The first celebrity is Justin Timberlake. We all remember how Justin Timberlake and Britney Spears were dating back in the day. They split. Things immediately were very sour. Justin Timberlake basically dragged her name through the fucking mud. He was going on different talk shows and being like, yeah, I had sex with her, saying that she cheated on him. And that was the only cheating that happened. A few months after the breakup, he put out Cry Me a River, which unfortunately is such a banger of a song. But that's because of Timbaland. That's not because of Justin Timberlake, okay? And we all know, too, that he put a Britney Spears lookalike in his music video, which as somebody who loves messy pop culture, like I can't even lie, it's just like so, it's in the annals of history when it comes to pop culture. But it was incredibly shitty to do. First of all, it was just point blank shitty. Then secondly, when Britney Spears ended up releasing her memoir, The Woman in Me, we got some more information about the situation that made it even worse. We found out in her memoir that Justin had cheated on her multiple times in the relationship, that she had an abortion while she was dating Justin. And this interesting tidbit about how I think she was like cramping on the bathroom floor and he like took out his guitar to like sing a song to her. Anyway, and basically just how much of a traumatic experience that was for her and how much it impacted her. So then you go back and you look at everything that he did post breakup, and it just makes all of it like so much more worse. So everybody was mad at Justin Timberlake. He's also been horrible to Janet Jackson. He's just done like a bunch of horrible things. Okay. His world tour was getting ruined. And even though a source from his team put out this quote, he acted a little bit differently. So here was the quote from his team. It says, "In recent years, Justin has tried to be supportive of Britney from a distance. They dated so long ago, but he still has respect for her. Justin and Jessica just want everyone to grow and evolve instead of continuing to bring up the past." Very much from the Selena Gomez playbook of how to just this idea of like, I'm more grown and evolved than you. Okay, let's like knock it off. That was the source put out statement, basically. It was from a source, but like we know that it's from his team. But it seems like his actions were a little bit different because even though his statement said, we want to grow and evolve, we don't want to get involved with this whatsoever, people started noticing, particularly on Twitter, that there were multiple suspicious online accounts who were tweeting the same exact sentence verbatim, capitalized letter for capitalized letter, comma in the same place, absolutely everything the same on Twitter. So if there was an article talking about like Britney Spears' new memoir is out, everybody's mad at Justin Timberlake, underneath would be an ass load of comments from all of these random accounts that would say this specific sentence, quote, "Two consenting adults made a joint decision what was best for them at that period in their lives, comma, I see no issue." First of all, it's interesting because if this was an actual sentence that somebody came up with and they felt this way, so that was why they tweeted it, it's not even using the correct grammar, you know? They made a joint decision for what was best for them or of what was best for them, but they don't have that. And that one sentence was said by at filthy Japanese, at no info available, at no info available again, at Midiera Lago fan. All of these different fake accounts were tweeting this same thing, replying to Pop Base, replying to all of these different accounts. And people were saying, this is insane. This is bot activity. There's no way that 571 people underneath one post all had the same exact fucking thing to say. Now, what you'll notice when we talk later in this episode too is that I find it really interesting that in this particular method of bot defense, or I guess like bot language, somebody had to come up with the script for the bot to use. And you'll notice that there's different, how would you say it? Different like ingredients in the recipe and the formula of all of these different bot sentences. So the first thing that I notice a lot of these celebrities do with their scripts for the bot is they follow a pattern of rephrasing what happened into this stupid straw man argument where like you bury the lead. So saying two consenting adults made a joint decision what was best for them. That's technically correct. Like it's technically correct, but it's technically correct in the same way that I could say every single day I like to wake up and drink a liquid that you use to wash dogs with. What the fuck? Yes, I do wake up and I do drink water and you do use water to wash a dog, but saying a sentence like that is being purposely misleading. Like it's true, but it's not honest. Like saying that they were both consenting adults and they made a decision that was right for them. Yes, doesn't mean that it wasn't hard. It doesn't mean that somebody didn't handle it horribly afterwards. Like it's just so frustrating. And then I also think it's interesting how in this bot script that was put out on Twitter, they end it by saying, I see no issue. So you're quite literally framing what happened as a non-issue. You're minimizing what happened. And then also, you know me, I'm a sucker for language. Note the subtle language there. You're not saying, I see no problem. You're saying, I see no issue. And I think that's interesting because what do you do with a problem? You fix the problem. But what do you do with an issue? You discuss an issue. And a bot sentence like this is used to deter people and dissuade them from having a big conversation and discussion about how shitty Justin Timberlake is as a person. So saying, oh, I've got no problem with this, it's not going to be as effective in getting people to shut up about something as saying, I see no issue. It's a non-issue. Why are we even talking about it? It's not a big deal. I just love nitpicking language and what I wouldn't give to be a fly on the wall in whatever like fucked up conference room where they were trying to decide how exactly they would craft the script for this bot to go on and say these things on Twitter. So Justin Timberlake, caught with your hand in the cookie jar. The next man who was caught with his hand in the cookie jar is Jonah Hill. I feel like we forgot about this one. And maybe that's because Justin Timberlake has had incidences since the bot thing, the DUI, where it ruined the world tour. And then he got Lyme disease. We've talked about that as well on the public episodes here. Jonah Hill, though, around 2023, he was in the news. And this was when he was dating, who was it? Sarah Brady, a surf instructor and a model. She was 26 at the time. He was 39. And she basically let loose all of their text messages on the internet, where we found out that Jonah Hill is just like a weirdo who is like weaponizing all of this therapy language in just like a strange way that I'm sure every single person saw those text messages and went, yep, I know someone in my life who does something exactly like that. And this was when we all found out how nuts Jonah Hill was, which I feel like had been slow dripped to us a little bit, even by people in the comedy scene, like making all of the same kind of jokes about Jonah Hill and his personality and his character. Which, by the way, I believe it's a Patreon episode, not a public one, but we did a whole episode on the movie Superbad and blind items on the people on it and how the movie was made. And one of the things I remember most from that episode was that Jonah Hill has kind of always been a see you next Tuesday. Like, there were so many stories of him being really hard to work with, taking things very personally, which took a lot of the humor out of everything that they were doing. And he also had beef with Christopher Mintz-Pilots, if that's how you say it, the guy who played McLovin, because McLovin only had a few lines and everyone thought he was just so naturally funny. And Jonah Hill would like bully him and antagonize him on set. He did not like it. So even since Superbad, Jonah Hill's been like a little bit of a weird character. But if you need a rehashing of the text messages, this was the main one that went viral that he sent to his girlfriend. This was in, December 2021, but I think she put it out like a year after. He said to her, plain and simple, if you need surfing with men, boundaryless, inappropriate friendships with men, to model, to post pictures of yourself in a bathing suit, to post sexual pictures, friendships with women who are in unstable places and from your wild recent past beyond getting a lunch or coffee or something, respectful, I am not the right partner for you. If these things bring you to a place of happiness, I support it, and there will be no hard feelings. These are my boundaries for a romantic partnership. My boundaries with you based on the ways these actions have hurt our trust. Okay, obviously that's an insane text message. I don't need to tell you why it is. I mean, one of the many reasons would just be like, if you need boundaryless, inappropriate friendships with men, like you're not being honest. Like it's not you and me versus the problem. You're very obviously going up against me, because who in their right mind would be like, I need oxygen, I need water, and I need boundaryless, inappropriate friendships with men. So you're right, Jonah. Sorry, it's not going to work because I need that. And also, like, anyway, it's just like so fucking aggravating. This came out, everybody was like, Jonah Hill, you're a freak. And it's not like lock him up territory, but it's just like, I mean, first of all, I just love seeing a celebrity text message get exposed. I want to see how they text. I want to see if they use emojis, if they misspell things. I love getting like a peek behind the curtain. But celebrities, they're just like us. They go to the grocery store, not really, but that used to be the segment in tabloid magazines. They shit, they eat, they weaponize therapy language. They're just like us. So anyway, people started being like, Jonah Hill, you're like a little bit of a freak. We're not into this. And as people started dogpiling on him and we started to see all of the weird things he was doing in his relationship, a little bit of a mini cancellation started to happen to him. And guess what? People noticed that he was doing something a little bit similar to Justin Timberlake. And Teffy did a deep dive on this, particularly if you want to check out her TikTok video about this. But once again, it was on the Pop Crave Twitter post, which is so funny. Does Pop Crave know the power that they have? Because this was the same Twitter account that the Justin Timberlake bots were replying to. So it was on a July 8th Twitter post about these allegations. And once again, you saw the same sentence repeated hundreds of times from obvious bots that were defending Jonah Hill. This was the script that they came up with for Jonah. Quote, It sounds like he's communicating what works for him in a clear way. He literally said he supports her if that brings her happiness. It's not just for him. I actually see nothing wrong with this. Now let's break down the script of the bot language here. Once again, it's just so funny. It sounds like he's doing insert innocent thing here. And then also the use of the word literally. Anytime somebody says the word literally in an argument, I literally know that they're in the wrong. And I see this all the time on Reddit. Like you'll be on a snark Reddit because, sometimes you just want to see what's going on, or a celebrity forum. It's usually the snark and celebrity forums where you see it, and someone will say, I don't know, let's say Alex Earl. They'll say, oh my God, Alex Earl blocked me. And literally all I did was simply point out that blank, blank, I don't need to hear anymore. You said something nasty and she blocked you, Demi Lovato blocked me, but I was simply literally just only pointing out, no, immediately, like you're in the wrong. I don't know what it is, but the word literally in an argument for me, like I just feel like 10 times out of 10, the person who's saying it in the wrong. Okay. Also, from this bot script, we have the sentence, he literally said he supports her if that brings her happiness. Let's be so fucking for real right now. If what's her name, Sarah Brady, if she responded to Jonah Hill and said, I'm so sorry, you know what? It does bring me happiness to post sexual pictures and have friendships with women who are in unstable places and have boundaryless, inappropriate friendships with men. So that's what I want to do. Do you think Jonah Hill would be like, you know what? Then I support you and your Maslow's hierarchy of needs. I'm so glad that that's what you want. There's no fucking way that he would say that. It's just like so infuriating. Anyway, and then similar to the Justin Timberlake method, the bot script ends with, I actually see nothing wrong with this. Very similar to it's a non-issue, I actually see nothing wrong with this. Honestly, it's a great bot script. I think it's much better than the Justin Timberlake one. And it's really getting the point across, especially to somebody, and this is the purpose of bots, who might be fence sitting on the situation. Maybe they don't know much about Jonah Hill. They've never been to therapy. Is this really a bad thing to do? So you're looking through the comments of the Pop Crave tweet and you see this sentence and it ends with, he's doing this. He literally said that. I actually see nothing wrong with this. You might go, hey, I'm kind of swayed to the side. And that's exactly what the purpose of all of these bots are for. Now, the last one that I want to bring up for this section, it's kind of a special edition because we don't have a scripted bot response, but I am just on my own because I'm biased here. I'm going to include Joe Jonas here. I don't know if he's used bots, but I feel like he would if he could, because we all remember what happened when him and Sophie Turner were going through their divorce and just how intensely he tried to turn public opinion against her. Like, I feel like if he had access to a bot team or PR team or something, he would have done that, but he didn't. So all he did instead was just drop like boom, 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 just like a machine gun wave of all of these different tabloid pieces with unnamed sources and insider information about what was going on. And Sophie hadn't said anything to the press. We just found out about the divorce. And immediately he went on the offensive, being like, she's partied. She's not a good parent because she wants to be out all the time. She's drinking all the time. And of course, it ended up massively backfiring on him because everybody was like, what the hell? Like, like at least Jonah Hill and Justin Timberlake waited for the shitty thing to come out about them. And then they tried to protect themselves with the bot defense. And it's almost like Joe Jonas and certain people instead were like, hey, I went through a divorce. Let me go on the offensive and try to bury my partner, who's also the mother of my children, and just bury them before anything comes out. To me, you ring as guilty if you're doing that. But it's another interesting piece of evidence that when you're a celebrity and you go through a breakup or a divorce or something bad comes out about you, you can either go on the offensive with a bunch of tabloid stories, or you can go on the defensive with a bot campaign. And I feel like we've seen both in the Justin Baldoni case, but that's just me saying it, So let's move on to our next section in the bot episode here, and we are going to talk about bots in the music world. This is something I've been really interested in. And I started becoming interested in it the summer of that Me Espresso. We all remember, if you're on Spotify, there was a moment, I feel like this would have been last summer when Espresso came out. But I don't know, Sabrina and Taylor are putting out like album. So maybe it was 2 summers ago. I don't know. whatever. It was a summer, espresso was out. And if you were listening on Spotify, no matter what playlist you were on, espresso would come up the minute the playlist ended, or if Smart Shuffle was turned on, which who the fuck wants Smart Shuffle? Like, ooh, I'm so sick of it. Spotify is just like going down in the trash. Anyway, but it was absolutely wild because it wouldn't matter if you were listening to punk or Frank Sinatra or like classical piano. The minute the playlist would end, they would play Espresso by Sabrina Carpenter. As you could be like listening to rain sounds and ASMR, and then next it would be Espresso by Sabrina Carpenter and Good Luck Babe by Chappell Roan, and a few other things. So this was a tweet that got pretty popular at the time that sums up the situation. They were saying Spotify radio is completely cooked. If you started a radio before, it would play similar songs, similar artists, and genres. Now it's just whatever the fuck I got saved with no correlation. Tell me how Espresso by Sabrina Carpenter is on Not Like Us radio. At Spotify, explain yourself. So there were 3 songs that were really doing it. It was Espresso by Sabrina Carpenter, Good Luck Babe by Chappell Roan, and Million Dollar Baby by Tommy Richmond. And people started to notice, oh my God, like I am getting basically force fed. I'm like what's that thing? The geese, the foie. Is that what it is? I don't know. When I see a petition, I sign it. The idea of being like, anyway, it was basically being hoisted upon us in the summer of 2024, and it was really confusing a lot of people. And thankfully, I mean, these are all pretty good songs, so they weren't that bad to listen to. But imagine if it was bad. What if it was Can't Stop the Feeling with Justin Timberlake? Remember that one summer? Happy by Pharrell? Oh my God, like you couldn't escape it on the radio. But anyway, there was a website called Pop Filter, and they found that another Sabrina Carpenter song, her single Please, 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 was the #2 song on almost every single artist's radio playlist. Pop artists, for sure, that makes sense. But it would be on punk, it would be on classic rock bands, and it was just showing how this algorithm was specifically pushing her song in a way across all of these different types of music that didn't make any sense. So then I started to really side eye things when the news came out in June of last year that, quote, Spotify, AEG, and Sabrina Carpenter team up to give fans exclusive ticket access to her upcoming tour. So Spotify put out a press release saying that they were announcing their first of its kind partnership with Sabrina and AEG to give exclusive ticket access to top fans ahead of her trek supporting the short and sweet tour, blah, blah, blah. So basically they were saying at each of Sabrina's US shows, they created this Spotify top listener pit for her top fans, and fans can purchase those tickets with some sort of exclusive code provided by blah, blah, blah. Like it's just so fucking crazy. Like back in my day, you would buy a ticket. You might even go to the box office to get it. And then you would show up with your ticket and you'd have a physical ticket and you would scan it and you go in. And now it's like college admissions or something. Like it is so hard to go see it's so expensive. It's so hard. Like oh my God, it's just too much. So anyway, I thought how crazy and what a coinky dink it is that Sabrina Carpenter keeps popping up all the time on Spotify, and suddenly Spotify says, oh my God, we're teaming up with Sabrina Carpenter. Just now you're teaming up with her? I think you teamed up with her about 6 months ago, and that's why you've been pushing all of her songs in the algorithm. So to me, it's just very obvious what's going on here. So this wouldn't be a case of like bots specifically in the sense that there's fake accounts streaming Espresso. It wasn't fake. We all had to listen to it because Spotify kept forcing it onto all of our different playlists. But I'm putting it in this episode because I still consider it under the umbrella term of just like shady streaming business technology practices that people are doing. And while Espresso is a great song, I think it's like an unbelievable song, it does make me look a little bit differently at it. And I think of this with Sabrina and her Spotify partnership. I also think of this too with like Taylor Swift's album. And they're like, oh my God, the sales, like no one's ever bought this many albums before. People bought the album before it came out. So does it really reflect the music? The sales dropped massively during the second week. And also she had like 1.5 million variants. So if you take her number and you divide it by 4, then maybe I'll look at it and recognize it as the real number. But to me, like multiple variants being purchased should not count as an individual buying her album. And it's not, once again, like Jonah Hill, it's not like lock them up or anything, but it is just a little bit depressing, especially in this day and age of AI taking over like absolutely everything and the algorithms. Like, I mean, it started years ago when people were saying, I'm on Instagram and I can't find a single one of my friends' posts. All I'm seeing is ads and sponsored content. And now they stick ads in between the stories that you view on Instagram. And guess what? Sometimes they stick two ads. Like I'll flip to my next friend's thing, it's an ad, flip another ad, and then I fucking get to what I want to see. And it's just like we are all collectively exhausted and burnt out from this. And then also in an artistic and creative space, it's just really depressing. And I feel like that's because music falls underneath the category of art. Everyone would say this. Even Taylor Swift recently was like, I'm not the art police. You know, you could say whatever you want. And because it's art, it can't be measured and labeled. Art is subjective, right? If you want to compare like a musical artist to an athlete, you can't really do that because an athlete, let's say that they're running the mile and they do it in like 4 minutes flat. Oh my God, we all saw that. He did the mile in 4 minutes flat. He's the fastest man in the world. I'm realizing now I don't know what the record time. Let me look it up real quick. Holy shit, it's 3 minutes and 43 seconds. And for women's, it's 4 minutes and 7 seconds. That's insane. So, anyway, when somebody runs the mile like that, you're like, oh my God, we saw it and we witnessed it and it's unbelievable. And you get to judge them by that statistic and that number because you saw it happen and that's how you judge athletics. But when it comes to music and you're inflating all of these numbers, come on, they're not actual numbers. They're being inflated. So are you the best musician or do you have the best business team behind you? And I think that's what frustrates me. Even this idea of like, they were on the billboard for this many times. Okay, well, how many variants did they put out? Remember when Taylor Swift specifically only put out a variant that you could purchase in the UK because Charlie XCX was about to get some sort of like record on the chart. And she was like, new variant, but it's UK only. And that was obviously done so that way she could keep her spot and like continue blah, blah, blah. So it's like, is that because she had the best song and the better song and the music meant more? No, that's like business stuff. So I don't think that musicians should get the accolades that their business people did. I guess I personally don't consider that a true benchmark. And it's not cheating per se, but I think it's an accomplishment of your business team, not your accomplishment of you being a musician. It's just a shady practice. And I think if you don't think that it's shady, I'll offer you another example to take like the stan worship and like opinion and bias out of it. So another company who does similar things to this, Uber. Uber has done so many different things. And I think everybody's waiting for the lawsuits because there have been recent proof, like so many hundreds of people have done this that we know it's true for a fact that with Uber, if your phone is dying and you're only on like 5% and you pull up Uber, they will make the prices higher for your phone than the person next to you at 100% because they know scarcity mindset, demand is high. You need to get an Uber before your phone dies. So they'll jack up the frickin' price. Or I was seeing recently, these girls had an Amex card and if they went to go pay with Amex for Uber, it jacked up the price by like $15. But then if they went to go pay with their Visa credit card, it lowered the price. Now, is that technically a good business move and you're making more money, even though you're kind of taking advantage of people? Yes. But I don't consider it honest. And even though it's a good business move and it makes you money, I don't think that it's honest. And because it's not honest, I personally can't respect it. And I think when it comes to the field of technology or ads being put into Instagram or Uber changing the price based on your phone, it's like, oh, fuck, that's business. But what are you going to do? That's business. But when you start seeing these practices in music, it's just a little bit depressing because I feel like we all thought that music, AKA art, was like the last thing that we had that was untainted and it like wasn't going to be whittled down into nothing. And now we have AI and we have all of these tech companies partnering with musicians and Benson Boone just did a partnership with Google Maps and even Olivia Rodrigo, I love her, but she just did something recently where she was like, anyone who has an Amex card gets to sign up to attend my latest concert. What are we? It's just like so heart-wrenching, you know? And it seems like I'm not the only one who thinks this because in the summer of 2019, a bunch of people signed this code that was to condemn streaming manipulation. So basically using bots and different streaming farms all across the world to inflate your numbers of plays. You could use, I don't know, these streaming farms to get like higher views on your TikTok reels or your Instagram videos, or however many people play your song on Spotify, etc. And this is what John Phelan, the director of the International Confederation of Music Publishers, said back then. He said, streaming manipulation has been an unfortunate blight on the industry over the past few years. There is a black market for pay to play, or sorry, pay for play, which I guess is kind of similar to anyway, like anyway, basically saying that there's streaming out there. No, there was this whole thing, I think, in Rolling Stone where they tried to do a little bit of an investigative deep dive into this, because after that code of conduct was signed, there were a few members of the Blueprint Group, which is a high-powered management and distribution company that works with Grammy-winning artists. They hopped on a conference call with this digital marketer named Joshua Mack, and Rolling Stone was able to get the audio of this. And this audio was for a phone call where two of the CEOs from Blueprint, the head of digital strategy and the chief marketing officer, were exploring options for how they can boost an upcoming release from the rapper G-Eazy. One of the members of G-Eazy's team on the call said, quote, "I want this to be big." And Mac told Blueprint that he can jack up artist streams for a price. He said that Blueprint and his network can generate, sorry, I'm tripping over my words, can generate 200 million streams a month spread across their various music clients, a group that he says has nearly a dozen well-known acts and prominent labels. Mac, once again, Joshua Mack, who's the digital marketer, saying, like, I can get this for you. He said on the call to Blueprint that Spotify has punished him for his stream boosting activities in the past, but artists continue to use his service anyway. Why? They asked him. He said, quote, "We basically cracked the code and understand how to manipulate the system and hit astronomical numbers." This was a call in 2019, 2020. And I know for a goddamn fact that this is a thing, and I know of it because I know of it in the podcasting world as well. You know me and my conspiracy brain. I have had meetings with some of these people because I want to know how people are getting numbers. Like, people sometimes will be like, oh my God, my show gets like this many numbers, and they have like 12 podcast reviews. And I'm like, that's just insane. Like, there's no way that that adds up. So I've had a few meetings with these people, and I haven't done it myself yet. But my God, I'm a little bit curious because it seems like everyone's doing this. Even Alex Cooper with Call Her Daddy, she did not get nearly enough hot water for this. I don't know how it was buried so quickly, but that's how Call Her Daddy has been getting so many streams. It was this company like Mom Media or Wow Media or Media, something like that. And basically their method of how they were getting streams for Call Her Daddy was that if you're playing an iPhone game and you know that you need like more diamonds or coins or like mushrooms in the game, so you can either buy it with money or you can watch an ad for 30 seconds to 60 seconds and you'll get more diamonds in your iPhone game. Well, guess what the ad was? It was listening to an episode of Call Her Daddy. And that's how she was getting so many streams at one point before she was found out. And they did some articles about this, I want to say 2 years ago, and then it just like disappeared. So anyway, all of this to say, if you're on Spotify, doesn't matter if you're a podcast or you're an artist, there is a black market for streaming and trying to get more downloads. And it just pisses me off so much. So anyway, back to this article. They say, despite the new vocabulary, digital marketers say that some streaming manipulation resembles old school radio payola. Third parties build or gain control of playlists or networks of playlists on a platform like Spotify and then accept payment from artists or their teams for placing songs on those lists. So let's say that, I don't know, you know how everybody has a Spotify day list or pop hits of the early 2000s or something like that. These people will basically feed those songs into those playlists in exchange for money to get more streams. This is a quote from A&R at a prominent label. It says, quote, "We agree to a certain amount of money for a certain amount of streams. We're good. We just need performance-enhancing steroids to be a little bit better." No, you don't, bitch. Sorry, I'm getting so nasty. It just pisses me off because once again, I also feel like too, the internet was almost like the last cog in the machine of the hope for the American dream. The idea that anybody, Justin Bieber on YouTube and like anybody can get online and be yourself online. And if you have good enough ideas or talent or drive or something unique, you can make it. And the internet is the last Wild West where anybody can make it big. But then we find out, I talked about Alex Earl earlier, she's been boosted by TikTok. her rise to fame was basically the algorithm pushing her on people. And some of these artists, why is Somber so popular? I mean, Chappell Roan, incredible music, but I listened to her because after the, I don't know, 19th time Good Luck Babe was pushed on me, I listened to it, and I'm glad I did. It's a great song. I love her. But other artists don't have that same money behind them. So, like, ooh, it's just so. Anyway, the article continues. It says other number fudging techniques are more advanced. Digital marketers say that some companies set up programs to automatically generate thousands of new bot like accounts that repeatedly play a song or a playlist. This activity doesn't just lead to artificial inflations of streams and egos, but due to the way that streaming services shell out money, divvying up their pools of cash according to each rights holders' portion of total streams, manipulations also lead to lower payouts for some acts that do not engage in this behavior. And that's what it is right there. You're grading people on a curve. Like that quote from somebody saying, oh, we're good. We just need performance enhancing steroids to be a little bit better. Absolutely not. It's now a keeping up with the Joneses mentality that is only available to people who know how to use these bots. And also, why would you want to? Like, it just pisses me off so much. Like, if your album isn't getting good streams, make a better album. And it feels like in music, this has made everything so top heavy because now it's forcing all of these record labels to basically say to their artists, get on TikTok and make up a little dance to go with it and make it go viral. When like good music should just be good music. And it feels like now the music industry is like 90% a business industry and like 10% actual lyrics and a beat. So anyway, it just pisses me off because the honest people are getting screwed. And I thought that we were in the age of Aquarius. So like, what the fuck? It's supposed to be the opposite. Maybe it's all about to come to a head soon. But my last biggest piece of evidence for this is that I made a video maybe about a year ago saying that we need to take bots so fucking seriously. Like I was saying that in the next 10 years, I put bots as one of our top 5 problems. And I know that that sounds really trite and really trivial, like it's just bots online, but so much of us live online nowadays that this is like a huge plague that's happening. And I think it's also a huge trickle down problem because yeah, a bot, oh no, I ordered pants on Amazon and they're actually not good. Okay, yeah, that's something that a bot can do. It's not that bad of a problem. Although it kind of is because money's scarce now. But also, secondly, this is how people are getting elected. Like, it's not just bots, it's not just like cyberbullying or Jonah Hill trying to defend himself. It's changing people's ideologies, it's putting people into elected positions. Like, I just think we need to take bots so seriously. So, anyway, I was talking about that in this TikTok video I put out a year ago and talking about how I think a lot of musicians use it. And if you're not using it, you're falling behind because everybody's using it. And guess who reposted my TikTok? Phineas of, Phineas and Billie Eilish. So I feel like I feel like you wouldn't repost that unless you were like, yeah, like I'm in the music industry and this is happening. That's kind of what I thought. But it was funny because a couple months earlier, I had put out a TikTok video. And this was from a public episode talking about like conspiracy theories of different musicians. And there's this conspiracy theory that Phineas and Billie Eilish are like, I don't know, 3 to 4 years older than they actually are. I'm sorry. And I made a video about that and he commented on it and he like did not think it was funny. And then that same video was over on my Instagram and his mom commented on my video on Instagram being like, this is not true. Like I would know, I birthed them. And it's like, well, yeah, like I know it's not true. Like we're just having a little bit of fun with this conspiracy theory that they're 3 years older. Like it's not that crazy, but it did make me think, did this video get passed around in the Eilish family group chat? But anyway, I think he then forgot what my face looked like because he did repost the video about bots. So woo. But anyway, back to the finger pointing. That's the whole point of this episode. Which artists specifically are doing this? Now, granted, I don't think it's the artists themselves. Like, I don't think Sabrina Carpenter is going to the CEO of Spotify and being like, you better use some bots on my song Espresso. It's probably their team, it's their label, it's their management, whatever. But here's what I could find. We know for a fact Sabrina Carpenter, Chappell Roan, Tommy Richmond. G-Eazy from the article. I was able to see too that Lisa and a lot of K-pop groups allegedly are doing a lot of bots and streaming. Apparently her song Money has 1.04 billion streams at one point, and only 556 million of them were true, which I know sounds like an oxymoron. only 556 million, but that is half of the number that it's saying, which is crazy to think that a stream number could be doubled by bots. That's not grading on a curve. That's full on having your laptop open while you're taking the test, okay? That's like crazy. French Montana was accused of this, faking Spotify streams with his single Writing on the Wall with Cardi B and Post Malone. Tidal in 2018, the streaming service Tidal was accused of faking hundreds of millions of streams for albums, The Life of Pablo and Lemonade by Kanye West and Beyonce. Travis Scott has had a lot of bot allegations, and potentially Nicki Minaj, but it's hard to tell because when that Rolling Stone article came out that was talking about all of these people using bots in the black market of streaming, Cardi B started tweeting about it. And she said, quote, I saw the article, no mentions about Atlantic, who they love claiming that are cheating the system, but they do name who does, though, yet my name being brought up. I couldn't really figure out what her tweet was saying, but she tweeted a few other things, and a lot of people were chattering about it and saying, oh, she's basically trying to say, like, you're bringing up my name, but I know for a fact Nicki Minaj, uses bots for her streams. Interesting. Now, the very last part of the music section that I also want to include as well is buying up of albums. So this was also from the Rolling Stone article. That guy, Mac, the digital marketer, says, quote, we're saving the album and running the numbers up across multiple devices, all premium, Mac replies. He also assures the Blueprint team that the streams he generates are in the United States, presumably because those plays will count toward the all-important US charts. Another aspect of running the numbers up involves what Mac calls album buys. He goes so far as to claim that we bought, quote, 8,000 albums for one well-known rapper. Maybe G-Eazy, because it seems like that was the phone call. So I would just urge everybody to keep that in mind. And it sucks that we have to be so skeptical of everything coming out now, but it just feels like the pillars of truth have fallen apart. So maybe we are in the age of Aquarius, but it just feels a lot of these things are fake, basically. And I think it's interesting too, because the only things that we can rely on are, first of all, conversations in person. Speak to people in person. That might have been influenced by bots on Twitter and what they're saying, but ask your friends, hey, let's listen to this album and not listen to anything online and see how we feel about it. Let's go see this movie and not look at Rotten Tomatoes until after we see it. I've been watching TV shows, movies, songs. Friend recommendations to me now are worth their weight in gold. I hold it so tight to my vest. I only buy things on Amazon that people have bought themselves and recommend because you just can't trust any of the reviews. And I think that's also true when you look at album numbers. It's not just streams. There are albums being bought by other people. So how would I say this? Let's say hypothetically there's an artist and they are super rich. They might even be a billionaire. And let's say they put out an album that almost everybody doesn't like. Even a lot of their core fan base doesn't like it. But the numbers say that the album's being bought at record rates, it's never been bought before, even though everybody's this album's kind of last place for me. It's this album is being bought at a rate of 4x of any other album that's been bought. Is it because of variance? Is it because this person's buying their own albums? I mean, think about it. The New York Times bestseller book list now puts a dagger for when books are being sold, I think the first week or couple of weeks, and it seems like they're being sold at a suspicious rate, and they think that maybe the author bought their own books to increase those numbers. We need to start having a dagger for when it comes to album sales and streaming numbers and all of that. I just find it crazy that people would be like, oh my God, nobody's doing that. Nobody's doing that for somebody's album. They've been doing it for books. They do it for streaming. I just feel like we're being a little bit dense here. People are buying their own albums. All right, the next category for this is using bots for engagement boosting. And our example here is Chris Appleton. So in 2025, this year, he was accused of using bots to raise social media engagement. And it's always so embarrassing when this happens. So he's promoting the release of his memoir. He's a hairstylist, and the name of his memoir is Your Roots Don't Define You, which I have to say, great title for a memoir if you're a hairstylist. Even the way that the Hawk Tua girl, the name of her podcast was Talk Tua. What can I say? Like, that's a pretty good name. So, anyway, he's releasing his memoir in early 2026. So, he's doing his promo cycle for his memoir, and he shared the book cover on TikTok, and people started to notice that in the comments of his TikTok video, it seemed like there was bot activity. Here are the different comments from people. Chris's book is pure heart and truth, sunflower emoji. Chris is showing us what it means to grow beyond our roots. Chris knows how to tell a story that sticks with you. Chris turns silence into strength. Chris just gave the world something deeply meaningful. Chris has given people language for what they've felt. Chris's voice is healing and real. It cringes me out so much. Like, let's not lie, I use ChatGPT from time to time. I'm sure you do too. You know, in a pinch, it's good. It's like a little virtual assistant sometimes. And this to me just reads so much as like, my book is coming out. It's about this. Give me 15 sentences of what a fan could say to promote my book. And it's just boom, 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 boom. And you see it, and it's just so embarrassing. Like, you will see this sometimes on different people's TikTok or Instagram. Like, you go into the comments and you can tell that it's bots. And I feel like for this, like, you just have to wince because it's embarrassing. And once again, I feel like this is also the grading on a curve, keeping up with the Joneses. Like, I have one friend who's a TikToker, and she told me that when she does a video and it's a brand deal video, let's say she's getting paid, I don't know, $5,000 for the video, she'll take 500 of those dollars in advance and spend it on her own to get bots to like with the video, to engage with it, which honestly is a good, I guess, business marketing move, because then the brand would want to maybe work with you again because your video does well. So then you do a second video. Now you have a total of $10,000. Who cares if you lost 500 spending that on bots? But I gotta say, even though it's a good business move, maybe I'm just anti-business because like it just bums me out so much, and it makes everything worse for everyone else because now you're raising the bar. So that way, the next time that a brand deal goes to someone or somebody else is promoting their memoir, it'll be like, ooh, I don't know if we're going to help you out as much because Chris Appleton got all of this engagement on his video and you weren't able to get it on yours. And it's like, but his wasn't real. It was fake. Like, doesn't authenticity and realness mean anything anymore? So the next section that I want to add on here is just all the different other categories of what bots can be used for. Like I said, we did a whole deep dive on this over on Patreon. We talked about the types of bots, how they're used. One of the interesting tidbits I remember from that episode for me was that not only are bots out there to give fake 5-star reviews to things, like let's say you're getting a walking pad on Amazon, 5 stars for this walking pad, and it's from a bot who never walked a day in its bot life. That's one thing that they can do, and we're all aware of this. But do you want to know what else bots can do? They can go over to other walking pads and give a 1-star review and be like, this one didn't work. It was squeaky. It didn't work for me. So I thought that I was kind of with it. I'm like, oh yeah, I know that some of these 5-star reviews are fake. So what I would do is that I would read the more controversial reviews and be like, I'm probably going to find the truth in here. Nope, those are all fake too, which is just like, oh my God, like what can you do? You really just have to go word of mouth. Anyway, astroturfing, another category. We see this a lot on Reddit with different bot activities. Bots in politics. I don't even want to talk about it. Like, it's going to depress me too much. But when I was looking up like different celebrities that have been caught using bots, the majority of them were politicians. Ooh, it kind of turns your stomach. And then, of course, bots to defame in court cases. Yes, with Justin Baldoni and Blake Lively, we're getting actual accusations of this. Like, you used a campaign, a smear campaign. Here's what you did. But Johnny Depp and Amber Heard was the original case for this. And no matter what you believe when it comes to Johnny Depp and Amber Heard, you have to believe, like, you cannot deny bots were used. There was an online smear campaign happening. And that, paired with the fact that the jury was not sequestered, is just so insane to me. Hopefully that's the first and last time that this will ever be done, because the Johnny Depp Amber Heard, it was everywhere. I feel like I saw more of it on the internet than I did of the actual election that happened this past year. Like, it was the biggest of big, big things. And it's interesting too, the timing of Johnny Depp and Amber Heard. Remember how I said up at the top how the Jonah Hill bot defenders, the Justin Timberlake bot defenders, those all happened around 2023. And it seems like the bots have gotten smarter since then. Although Chris Appleton's TikTok would beg to differ. But anyway, the Johnny Depp Amber Heard trial, 2022. So right before the bot conversation got loud, big, into the zeitgeist, it was just kind of like on that tipping point. And then after that, it was like, oh shit, I think bots are being used, but they fucking got in right beforehand. And the last thing that I want to talk about for this episode is something that I couldn't find like official proof from, but my intuition is proof. And I want to do a little section about how I am positively certain. I mean, like, I'm not, like, this is alleged, this is just what I think. But Scooter Braun using bots. I know in my bones and my blood, right down in my bunions, I know that Scooter Braun is using bots. So he was recently revealed. It's not that he was revealed, but most people knew this because he works with the company Hybe, right? That's his company. And he or they bought the PR firm that Justin Baldoni apparently used to sabotage Blake Lively. And Justin used the same PR firm that Johnny Depp used. So a lot of people are like, this is the PR firm that does some nasty shit. And Scooter Braun is the majority stakeholder of this PR firm. So remember how I was talking about how like in 2023, that's when like bots really started to get on the menu and people were talking about it? Not Scooter Braun. He's been talking about bots for a long, long time. In 2018, he addressed these rumors about the artist Chris using bots on the iTunes chart. In 2020, Scooter Braun alleged to Tekashi, is it like Tekashi 69? I know he had a song with Nicki Minaj, but anyway, he said that he was using bots to fake views for his Gooba video. And then he admitted that there was an investigation surrounding this week's charts. Scooter said, quote, "It was into a video that had 6 times the amount of paid bot activity than the normal video. That video was not ours." So this is back in 2020. This is 5 years ago. And Scooter Braun is saying, oh, I think that this guy faked his bot views. And I know because we did an investigation into it and it had 6 times the amount of paid bot activity than the normal video. You know what I pick up from in that sentence? Every video has paid bot activity, but his had 6 times the amount of paid bot activity. So this is 2020, even in 2018. So God, like 7 years ago, Scooter Braun is talking about bots. He's doing investigations into them. He knows how they work. He's getting the analytics on them way ahead of its time, it seems like, for what most people were talking about when it comes to bots. Then September 2024, Hybe, aka Scooter Braun, acquires a 51% stake in the PR firm Tag PR. This is what Justin Baldoni used. This is what Johnny Depp used. It's been labeled a smear machine by a variety of different sources. And Tag PR is the group that Blake Lively is releasing information about. They've been quoted as saying, "We can bury anyone," that they use tactics such as bots, AI-generated images, and paying popular influencers to spread their narratives. Every influencer but one. My hands are open. No, I'm just kidding. I'm passionate about this. I did get a brand deal offer. Ooh, my first one in like 6 months. And it was from Ticketmaster. So I had to say no. I was like, I'm not going to say good things about Ticketmaster. But anyway, all of this to say, there's nothing like out there officially about Scooter Braun. But I just like would bet it all the way to the moon. Like I think that he's using bots. Him and that PR company. Why do you think he bought it? You know? Interesting. So that's just a little bit about bots for today and the celebrity aspect. Of course, if you want to check out more about how they're used on Reddit, for Amazon reviews, all of that, go check it out on Patreon, especially if you're a Patreon member, but you haven't yet sifted through the vast back catalog. Just type in like bot into the search area and you'll be able to find it there. So please let me know all of your thoughts. And who did I miss? Has there been any celebrity or influencer where you go through their comments and you're like, this looks like a lot of bot activity, or certain songs on Spotify that keep coming up again and again, and you're like, this makes no sense. I keep saying no, 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 no. And to that end, I feel like I'm going to get back on Pandora Radio because I want to shout out a band. After, they have a song called 300 Dreams, deep diving. I love the band After. To me, it's almost like the music that Moby makes, but if it was made by a woman. It's almost like Moby meets Sia. It's just like beautiful music, and that's what I wanna listen to, and I did find it on Spotify, but it's like the one good thing I found from a Spotify recommendation in the past year. I'm gonna go back to Pandora. And one last note, because this is just a random thing that popped into my head. I was listening to Tate McRae the other day, as I always do. You know, we did an episode on her last week if you wanna check out that deep dive, and I think if Tate McRae honed her voice a little bit, she has a little bit of that Sia voice in her because Sia was one of the singers for Zero 07 back in the day. And I feel like the way that Tate sings, she could bring a little bit of that energy. Yeah. So, anyway, back to bots. Please let me know what you think about all of this. Jonah Hill, Justin Timberlake, Joe Jonas, he didn't do anything yet, but I've got my eye on you, you and Scooter Braun, and everything that's going on with Spotify and the streams and the purchasing of albums and, tech companies pairing up with artists and ticket credit card pairing up with an artist. Like it just breaks my heart, I think, because it felt like music was the final frontier. That there haven't really been good comedies or good movie scripts lately. It feels like they're all AI generated. And now to see the tech bubble overtaking music is just really like a knife in the heart. What do we have left? Maybe improv comedy for now, but I feel like that's right about it. So sorry to end on a little bit of a damper note, but please let me know what you think about all of this. And if you're a member of our Patreon or you want to join, patreon.com/fluentlyforward. I did a fun episode this past Friday. It did start in earnest as a deep dive into Julia Michaels because the way that Benny Blanco has produced like all of these amazing pop songs, Julia Michaels has written so many amazing pop songs over the years. So I wanted to do a deep dive into her, but it turned out being an episode all about the homoerotic tattoo trail of Selena Gomez's different friendships. And we talk about her matching tattoo with Julia Michaels, Cara Delevingne, Nicola Peltz. I make a case for why these are all codependent homoerotic friendships that was culminated in a matching tattoo, and then something happened. And I also think that there are a lot of parallels between Selena Gomez and her Nicola Peltz friendship and Taylor Swift and her Kelly Teller friendship. It makes sense to me. I think I lay it out in a way that makes sense, even though I know that I sound a little bit crazy right now. So that's over on Patreon, along with hundreds of more episodes if you want to check it out there. As always, thank you guys so much for hanging out with me, and I will see you soon for another episode of Fluently Forward. Bye, guys.